guys, welcome back. So, in the last video I was talking about party compositions, or hero compositions. I decided to go with the two rightmost groups. I might actually pull up an image, or at the very least I'll probably link it in the description what I'm referring to. But the main bullet point is I'm going for the 8 heroes that are Bunduk, Deshavi, Clethy, Jeramis, Ymira, Katrin, Marnid, and Nizar. So that unfortunately means we are not picking up any of the 3 guys in the tavern that we were just visited. But we still have work to do, which was to head back to Jalkala for another tournament. We recently, let me just check here, upgraded our equipment. We switched to a bow. Probably soon we'll ditch the shield to get more ammo if we get a bow we like. We upgraded a bit of our equipment. We still have the horse, but until we're fighting heavier opponents, it's not super critical. I'd probably want to wait till I just get a charger and then just keep using it. There is that mountain bandit hideout there. I'm probably going to leave it as is, just because I can use it to keep hunting mountain bandits in the future. Probably not going to pick a fight with 18 of them for the time being. But here we are. Seems all the lords are here as well. And what time is it? So it looks like we're late on the tournament. It was just finishing today. Tolga and Nara, huh? Okay. There's still the Masterwork Warbow taunting us. So we're going to want to head towards Kurgit territory. Need to be careful in that there's going to be horse-based bandits in that direction. Now, since we're just a party of 1, we can probably just outrun them on the world map and avoid having to fight, but still means we need to be careful. So we switched to a bow now, so we're going to have to adjust to how we start shooting. So, as you can see, we're definitely shooting more often. One of the important things to note is when I'm standing still like that, even though I'm on a horse, that doesn't count as horse archery. It's only when you're moving on a horse when horse archery applies. Now, with basic infantry, you can pretty much just do this strategy of just keep funneling them, but you can see how much faster we're actually shooting now that we have a bow. In that, it really allows you to go through this process faster. So, it's a lot of them down. Our chest armor is protecting us from these rocks. Of course, shots to the face still can hurt us, honestly, at this point. We are tanky enough to just handle looters, so can be less scared of them. Take their equipment for minimal selling, and carry on. So we are heading, like I said, to Kurgit territory. There is a argument for going to the training field at the start. I actually might do that just to speed through. The idea is there's a you talk to the trainer and you can do the basic sparring. And if you go through all the tiers of advancement, you actually get a tiny chunk of XP, which isn't huge, but at the start it might be the difference between a level or so. So hopefully I can just really quickly make my way through here and not get killed. I haven't played this game in a bit, so I'm a little rusty. So apologies to any really good people who are ashamed of my ability to fight. I guess it does give me the opportunity to talk a bit more about the combat system. For those who aren't aware, it's a directional based combat system. You attack either stabs, overhead, left, right. You can also block in the same directions. So the only exceptions there being things that can't block, like daggers, which you probably are never going to use, and shields, which just essentially make a bubble in front of you in the relative space of the size of the shield. So if you don't like the directional block system, you can always try and just use the shield, which has its own strategy to it, of course, but generally speaking, it does make blocking easier. Or parrying, I guess, in that case. One of the things with AI, at least, though, that you can do is you can minimize how much you need to block by just practicing proper spacing. You can essentially bait the opponent or the AI into doing things they normally wouldn't. So, for example, you can hold your swing, and they'll automatically parry in that direction, so you can easily feint them, or get them to do that by backpedaling. They'll go for the swing where you were. Turns out you backpedaled. Now they missed. So let's see if I can practice that here. So whoop, he misses, and then you close in. And I completely fucked that up by not parrying. So you can see how quickly it all falls to pieces. So, for example, there I didn't have to parry at all just because I had reach, so I was able to space them out. Let's see if I can do this. So you can keep trying to show the example, and I'm botching it. Not sure why the screen is flickering there. I'm not sure if that's going through on the recording or not. The idea I was trying to explain works better in the arena where the guy's farther away. You essentially hold it up, and then you force them to block in a direction. It's like the basics of feinting in multiplayer, but it's kind of more exaggerated against AI because they're very mechanical about it. Oh, I thought I had reach there. Turns out I did not. So, why is it? Still not sure why the screen is flickering. Again, not sure if that's coming through on the recording. It's kind of creepy. It's a sign that I shouldn't be screwing up this much, I guess. Okay, so this should be the final fight here. There's more to the combat system. There's the idea of chambering shots, which is essentially like simultaneous swinging in similar directions and all that. Certain weapons can't stab, so that lowers the potential amount of attacks they can do. Stuff like that. I'm gonna hold on to my point for power strike and power draw. But there's more to the combat system. Those are some of the bare minimum basics there. The idea of parrying is less important on horseback, I would argue, just because you can practice spacing more to avoid fights rather than having to worry about blocking the swings. You can essentially just make sure you're not there by the time the swing comes. I might pick up this military cleaver. Tempered, balanced, or masterwork, I think, are all the options for the high tier of military cleaver, and it's not very expensive. I think I might just pick that up. Maybe hold on to the sword. I don't need a horse right now. Let's check the tavern for any people. Okay. Got another drunk person. Get to test our new cleaver. That was pretty easy. Doesn't look like there's anyone important here. I love how they just stay scattered after Mr. Belligerent Drunk busts through. So there you see our weekly upkeep is nothing because we've been walking solo for all this time. So here's a tournament. Let's see. We got Marnid, which is one of the people we want to hire. As far as I know, he is free. So welcome to the team, Marnid. You usually can set him up to be your merchant character because he's already skilled in it. I can't remember if heavy long axe is one of the. No, I think like there's a few two-handed weapons that eventually we might want, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. Let's see what arrows there are. Probably going to want 2 sets at some point. So that is that. Save up. Go into this tournament. We're betting on ourselves. So we were in Kurgit lands. So that means horse-based combat with a bunch of people who have ranged weapons. As you can see, that means the AI likes to use their daggers rather than sit around and shoot. There's also a bunch of javelin throwers. Luckily, we just have a two-handed weapon, although one of the upsides of this build in the context of tournaments is, unlike for some builds where getting a bow is pretty much a death sentence, we actually like getting bows. So it's not as big of a deal. Seems the red team is winning. Oh. Be careful not to goof here, get myself killed. Because of the way the tournament usually fills out, where everyone just gets distracted, usually you can just focus on being an attacker of opportunity. And just keep hitting people from behind. It's actually not that indicative of your skill a lot of the time. It's just about positioning. I had my hand off the keyboard, so I thought that round was over. Almost got hit in the face. So yeah, like I was saying, it's actually relatively easy, these tournaments. Easier than you'd think. There's some parts where you're forced to kind of do clutch plays, but happens less than you'd think. So we're going to want to try and focus down guys with shields first, just because they're going to be harder come the actual fight. I also should probably be focusing this blue shieldman so that the AI gets distracted. Now, there is a bit of argument towards how to do horseback fighting, because your character is better at turning this way than he is at turning the other way. So basically, there are arguments towards how to approach the actual enemy, like how to kite them. It's better to get them on one side of your back, essentially, because you can do this. Because you can't go all the way back, but you can almost do a 180 craning, Parthian shot, whatever you want to call it. Okay, big fight here. All we need to do is post up on the back here. And just go for it. So, I do sometimes like to go in first person. It's just a preference thing. I find it is sometimes easier to actually aim, especially if you are using shift. You can zoom in a bit. I don't know how you're zooming in, but whatever. Our team helped us out there. There is a kind of groove you can eventually get into where you're no longer holding your shots and you're just firing. Like, you can just click rather than hold to actually hold down your shot. If you can get into that groove, you can really improve the amount of shots per minute you're throwing out. But of course, there's usually a loss in accuracy because you're not even correcting yourself slightly. Because, like, you can hold an attack, right? And for throwing weapons, there's no fall off with bows. If you're trying to hold your aim, eventually your aim deteriorates because it's hard to hold a bow at maximum draw. So bows are unique in that regard. Crossbows and throwing weapons do not have that system. So you need to get a kind of sense of timing on aim enough that you're correct, but not long enough that you're a detriment to your aim. I want to be careful of the two-handed sword guy. There is an argument for using throwing weapons on horseback. Usually the thing that prevents me from doing it is the fact that you don't have as much ammo as you do in these tournaments. Usually with javelins you have anywhere from, like, I don't know, well, throwing weapons generally have anywhere from like 5 to 15 maybe. Like knives you go up to 20, but they're like way lighter damage wise. I usually find throwing weapons are good if you're on foot. Like if you're doing a, say maybe a two-handed swordsman or a sword and board kind of guy on foot, and you just want a bit of range potential to either stop a guy in his tracks when he's about to charge you like a horseman, or you just want a bit of extra reach, then sometimes it's good to have throwing weapons, but I don't find they're good for a primary method of trying to kill people, just because you don't have enough shots to actually make it worthwhile, in my opinion. See, like, heavy throwing spear is 4. Like, that means at best you can kill 4 people if you hit every single throw. Of course, like arrows, you can pick up what you miss with and throw them back, which is an argument towards it, but overall, you can do that with arrows to a higher degree. That I think they're just better for maximum damage. Of course, throwing weapons can hit like a truck if you do it correctly. I do not even think... should we try? Yeah, let's try. So, we have some peasants here. What we want to do, to give them the best chance possible, we're going to want to set them down here and get them to stand in as big of a blob as humanly possible, just to stop the bandits from being able to run through them all. You do not want to set, especially someone like bandits, to charge these guys, because they'll just get kited around forever. At least when they're standing still. Yes, they might get shot to pieces, but at least they're not just getting hit and run by all the melee mobs. They do have a habit of clogging up chargers. That is one of the things you have to be careful of if you're controlling the horse AI. Is the AI isn't very good at charging through and sticking with it. They tend to just engage in melee and stay there, which once you're actually engaged, being on a horse is not really that much of a benefit. Your main benefit is speed. Like, sure, you can sometimes rotate your horse to block shots for you, but like that's just not only conditional, but it's not too good for your horse. So we handled that pretty well. We got a few horses for our troubles. Horses, you can keep them in your inventory here, and they essentially can negate the movement speed penalty for having too much gear. So like by having them here, they improve your overland speed. Of course, I might give one to Mardid here, just so that he's on a horse. I'm not sure if he knows how to ride a horse. Apparently he does. This horse is probably better than the one we had. Yeah. And here you go, sir. We can give him a fighting chance at least. Maybe even give him our crossbow. Some armor, a hat. And there you go, man. Welcome to the team. We don't really care about his ability or inability to fight that much. I am going to set him to an archer. That doesn't really change how he'll behave, but it might help in the future, where I like to make my non-combat characters count as archers if I am using archers at all, or even if I'm not, just so I can keep them out of the fighting, because I don't like my doctor going into combat and dying. So here's Ferentis. I am not hiring Ferentis. He is in the second group of 3, I believe, which I am not hiring. There's a base warbow, which I'm going to want eventually. Yeah, I guess I might as well get it now. I'm going to hold on to my bows here, because eventually there's going to be characters that I'm going to want to give bows to. But there's also a steel shield that's usually the best for if you're not going into shields at all, but you sometimes want a shield for, let's say, a siege battle. That's a good idea. I'm probably not going to worry too much, though. Actually, I might even not buy this yet, because I'm not going to be doing sieges anytime soon. Ideally, I'll be able to keep making enough money that I can go back and buy that masterwork bow. So here we are again. One thing I haven't showcased that you can do in this game is you can pick up items that are on the ground. This is it's usually not that important in field battles, except in the case of you can pick up ammo that you've run out of, so you can start picking up arrows off the ground. Besides that, you're unlikely to be picking up equipment, because usually the equipment you're bringing is as good, if not better, for you individually. That picking up a random sword off the ground doesn't really help your situation. But in arena battles, where your equipment is limited and you don't get a say in it, it sometimes is a good idea to, say, if I wanted to melee someone, I might want to go and pick up a sword off the ground, which, I think there's one here. Oh, these are javelins. But that can help out the process, just by letting you pick up gear faster. What does this guy have? A dagger, and that is not useful. What about some of these people? Daggers. Daggers. Seems everyone is using ranged weapons this round. Why am I trying to fight him? He doesn't have a shield. Enjoy the javelin delivery service. There we go. since my power throw isn't very impressive, that's why it takes forever to kill these people. But it shouldn't be too bad. Especially because they're just coming at us with throwing weapons or bows or daggers or etc. etc. I think that guy is stuck. Yeah. He became one with the horses. Make sure I don't become stuck. Now, the arena horses are notoriously weak at charging. So the strategy of just ramming into a shielded opponent that you're scared of engaging isn't really an option as much as it is in normal combat. So you just kind of have to deal with that. Usually there's our opponent, I think our ally just threw a javelin at us. Or, well, obviously he was throwing it at someone else, but so, like I said, for other characters, this might be a big detriment. These kind of tournaments where it's just throwing weapons and bows, but I obviously don't mind. I actually do pretty well here, as you can tell. So, not a problem at all. Easy money. Again, I know this isn't really what you signed up to watch Mountain Blade for. Watching someone complete tournaments over and over again. But I didn't really want to leave everything out and just go, hey, here's my totally completed character, and then people are just confused how I got there. So, I thought I would just stick it all in. I'm sure eventually I will get to more traditional fighting. Since Mountain Blade usually takes forever to do a full playthrough, I have no doubts there will be just hours upon hours of traditional siege or field battles, so there's no real rush to get into them, because essentially once that starts, there's very little stopping, so I'm not too worried on that front. But you get to see the humble beginnings of a horse archer, which apparently involves throwing javelins into people's back until they die. So, who knew? Didn't think that was on the prerequisite list for how to train yourself, but now you know. Keep throwing into his back. Yeah, I don't really know how high the shield skill is of the various fighters in tournaments. Seems high enough, but maybe it's not insane. Seems there's only one guy left. I don't really care if we hit our opponent. That's why I'm kind of throwing so wildly there. Or did I say opponent? I do care if we hit our opponent. I meant I don't care if we hit our allies, because there's not really any penalty, as far as I remember, in native for friendly fire, at least in an arena. In regular combat, I think there's a morale penalty if you kill friendly allies. So I'm gonna try and go after the shield guy again first while he's distracted. I think this is Dranton. Yeah, there's a bunch of arena-only characters. Kratos. Dranton must be someone else. But there's a bunch of named characters that are essentially arena heroes that only show up for tournaments. I guess you could say they're the same people doing what I'm doing. So they're slightly stronger than the basic enemies. funny timing. Besides that, there's usually like Hired Blades, Sword Sisters, the regular veteran and champion fighters, and if it's attended by lords, they also participate. You do not get full XP, I don't think, for killing a lord in an arena. I think there's like a penalty or a percentage that you get. But there we go, we leveled up. Hit 15. Boom, boom. Power draw, power strike. Keep pumping archery as long as we can. Only tournament is in Cura, so I think I already checked. It's just Rentis, right? Yep. So I'm gonna probably stop it here. Skirmishers. Skirmishers are rank 2, right? Let's end it with a more traditional fight. Arnid, stand here and die. So this is probably not a group you want to be fighting, but I'm doing it anyways because I am feeling bold. So the name of the game here is Don't Get Speared, usually. These light cavalry fights are always usually a mess. It's all about mobility, and usually you're at best as fast as them, but usually you're a bit slower, especially once you get your heavier horse. So you don't really chase them down so much as you just make sure you don't get danced around. We seem to be doing okay so far. I just let that guy hit me. That was a mistake. More down. There's also, you have to be careful of running yourself into an invisible wall. That is the edges of the battlefield. Because that is a quick way to make these guys who are chasing you catch up to you. And that is usually not a good thing. Marna dead? I just assume he is. But like I said, it doesn't really matter if Marna dies, because heroes don't actually die. Heroes never die, etc. Overwatch quotes. That it doesn't really matter if they keep dying. You can just keep picking them back up, and they'll keep fighting. They'll be happy as can be. So, more equipment. More horses. Is there anything we need to worry about here? Probably not. I think this is a stubborn horse, right? I think stubborn is just plus 5 health, so it should be good. And yeah, I guess that is the note we'll leave it off on. We'll be going to Cura in the next one, which is over there. So I will see you guys then. Take care.